Imagine you've built a massive audience. We're talking millions of subscribers and sold out speaking tours. You've even written multiple best-selling books, and then you decide to do something absolutely crazy. You give it all away for free. But here's the twist. You tell your audience they can pay for it if they want to. No pressure, just an invitation to support if they can. Sounds crazy, right? But for one guy, this strategy is actually working. In this video, we're diving deep into Sam Harris's pay if you want business model. We'll break down how it works, crunch the numbers, and break down the consumer psychology behind it all. But here's the $1 million question, literally. Is this just a marketing gimmick or potentially the best business model for creators in the world?
This is Sam Harris. You're not currently on our subscriber feed. You'll need to subscribe at samharris.org. There you'll also find our scholarship program, where we offer free accounts to anyone who can't afford one.
So if you're not familiar with Sam Harris, he describes himself as a moral philosopher. That maybe doesn't mean so much to you. He's a pretty well-known author, meditation guy. So he has an app called Waking Up. He has a Substack where he's got like another subscription, like subscriber-based thing going on. He has a podcast called Making Sense. The thing that I love about him so much is his bravery. He says things that absolutely shock, and yet at the same time, as promised with his statement of making sense, he has a big fan base of people like me that really admire and respect his work and follow his work around the internet. So, and also, if you know anything about me, I run a company called Heights. We're into the brain space, and he's a neuroscientist. So, I'm slightly biased on the fact that I like that he works on the brain as well. Okay, Chris. How familiar are you with Sam Harris's work? Are you fanboy, sycophant like me?
No, not like you.
Right.
I mean, I know who Sam Harris is, but I certainly wouldn't have called myself a fanboy, no.
More surface level.
Yeah.
Not deep enough.
For whatever reason, just hasn't stuck.
We're running a media company, right? And so how Secret Leaders makes ads as a podcast company, as a YouTube company now, how we make money rather, is we sell ads, right? And that's the de facto normal way that people in our space tend to make it. There's not that many models out there, right? There's that, and there's a sort of subscriber model with Patreon as well. This sort of freemium idea. There's limited ways to make money if you're a content creator. But here's the thing about Sam Harris that I think is super interesting. He literally gives all of his content away for free and tells people like me that you can pay if you want. And here's the fucking nuts thing. I do it.
You pay?
I pay.
But you don't have to?
I don't have to.
Why do you pay?
I don't pay for all of his content, in fairness. I don't pay for his Substack. But I pay for his podcast, $100 a year. And I pay for his Waking Up app, which is like maybe 100 quid a year or something. Or maybe it's around the same.
So you're giving this guy like £180 a year?
Yeah. And because here's the thing. He does... Maybe the episodes are an hour and a half. They're around really fascinating and deep topics with very smart people. And he does about the first 30, 40 minutes free. And then you got to pay if you want to hear the rest. But what he does is he says, if you want to hear the rest of this episode, head to samharris.org and pay to subscribe. But if you can't afford it or you don't want to, just send us an email. No questions asked. And you can have it for free. We'll give you a free subscription.
He does that on every episode?
Every episode.
Wow.
And every piece of content is literally... If you want to hear the rest, or if you want this content, pay, or email us and say you can't, and you get it for free anyway. Unpack that as a content creator who makes money from content. Like, what the hell?
my initial... Well, I had two things. I thought if someone like you, who is, frankly, incredibly successful, is not paying for all of his stuff, then I was like, shit. I mean, I feel for this guy. And then I was suddenly like, my cynical hat on, my marketing hat on, thinking to myself... Is that not just the best gimmick in the history of gimmicks ever? Because you kind of get both things. He's got his affluent consumers being like, I feel good that I'm paying for everyone else. And then you've got your consumers who don't have much money getting it for free. And then presumably when they get money, they'll feel they want to pay it and pay it forward. That's very clever.
Over the last decade, Chris and I have started over a dozen businesses. It's not something we're particularly proud of, by the way, but it means we've had a lot of exposure to different business banks. You try one, you're not so happy, try another, you're not so happy. The cycle goes on. By this point, between us, we were laughing, but we tried them all. There was one we actually hadn't, and it's because they're newer, and we weren't really familiar with the fact that they had this option. So we wanted to try that based on our own knowledge and compare it. And I tell you what, it is head and shoulders above. And we are thrilled to be using and partnering with Wise Business.
Basically, Wise Business is the only account you need to get paid, pay employees and suppliers, and manage your business's money in multiple currencies.
Exactly. With Wise, you can do business across the world, pay, get paid, and manage your business's international money with ease.
And look, here's the thing. You actually save money as you grow. No hidden fees, no sneaky markups on exchange rates, and no ongoing subscription costs. It's like finding money in your pocket that you didn't know was there.
But my favorite part, and this is crucial, it's just so damn easy to use. I know because I'm the one who set it up for this company.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're lazy. I was never going to get you to do it. But anyway, you can make payments in as little as a few seconds, and it integrates with all your business software.
You can easily withdraw funds from Amazon, Stripe, and more in multiple currencies. And it connects to accounting softwares like Xero and QuickBooks. But damn, what about security?
Well, as you know, every time you try and log in and take money out of the account without checking with us first, the security is amazing. They've got two-factor authentication, a 24/7 customer support team, and a fraud team working around the clock to keep Chris off our money. I could go on about all of the amazing features, but seriously, when you're a small company or even just starting one, there's already so much going on that having a payment service that's quick, easy, and, by the way, most importantly, reliable is just an absolute necessity. And for that reason, we use Wise. If you want to get on board, it's simple. Just head to wise.com/business to learn more about how Wise could work for your business. The thing that's been quite debated with this is, from cynical people, whether this is all just a gimmick, right? Is it just a marketing ploy? Firstly, it's unique, right? So he invented this model pretty much in media and content. And so it becomes a talking point. So it becomes something that people are talking about. Have you heard of Sam Harris? Which is good for his brand, right? And then at the same time, you've got this kind of idea that he probably, you're right, has cultivated an audience of highly intellectual people. Like the top 1% of like smart people will listen to him and a bunch of other people.
At least the audience think that of themselves, yeah.
Correct. Absolutely bang on. Also probably a lot of content creators. So here's the really interesting world of digital and content creation, right? Is content creators understand that making money online from content is hard and they struggle with those problems. The question is, do they understand those struggles enough that when a model like this presents itself, they become paying customers? Because I would argue not. I actually have a fundamental belief that most people are hypocrites, right? They want everyone to do it for them, but then when they're asked to shell out for someone else, they're like, hey, buddy, fuck you. And to top that off, there's a weird psychology thing that happens. So I used to run. So this is more comparative to waking up, right? Waking up is an app. Apps are nightmares. Like it's a never-ending game. You can set up a website, and if you on a platform, you can just leave it. If you're an app, there's always a problem. So it's a never-ending game once you start. So waking up will have full-time developers or an outsourced team or something on it, ongoing costs. For sure, he can't get around that. So the question becomes, when you have a digital product, people do not value it properly. That's just how it is. So how do you really work out the funnel? Like, how do you actually get people to give you money if you're Sam Harris, if you give so much away?
Well, I think firstly, it's like, why do we not value it? And I think that we don't value it because of basically like 20 years of companies being completely free and monetizing our attention.
Yeah, we're the product.
Facebook, Instagram, etc., who provide us a service for free, which feels completely free and feels really good and all the rest of it, but they're selling our attention to brands. And so what Sam Harris is obviously trying to do is trying to not do ads. He doesn't do ads.
He was actually on Joe Rogan. I don't know if we can pull that clip up.
That's the clip I've seen.
But with a podcast, people make calculations that they would never make when they're just figuring out whether they want to buy something. People say, well, how much does a podcast cost to produce? If I knew what you were spending the money on and what it cost you to do this podcast, well, then I would support you, right? But they're never saying, how much does it cost to write a book? And if I knew what you were going to spend the money on, once I bought this book, then I would know whether or not I wanted to buy it. You either want the book or you don't.
This is such a great point, by the way.
Such a good point.
This is such a great point. So can I just say, as someone who ran a digital company, so I ran a company called Grabble.
Yeah.
In Grabble, the main reason that company failed, millions of people every single month were using that product and getting real value and shopping through it and using it all the time. But we were so unable to capture value because people wouldn't pay for the service. It wasn't valuable enough to them because it was digital. On the flip side, the first ever bottle of Heights I ever sold, right? You put a price on it and someone goes, Okay. And people say that's too expensive or that's not expensive enough or whatever the thing is, but no one goes that should be free.
Because how could it be?
Because how could it be?
Yeah.
But how could other products be as well?
Yeah,
But there's
completely.
a complete difference. No one has ever, no rational person expects that book to be free.
But I think it comes back to what he said. And I think it's like 2 decades or more VC money pumped into businesses that harness our attention as their ultimate product. And so the Facebooks, the Instagrams, etc., they have cultivated in us our belief that something must be free. Whereas I think that he's right. I think as time goes on, the higher quality digital products will become much more gated. You know, the rise of Substack, etc. And why not? Because again, you know, I create content, you create content. If you're doing it full time, forget about just the time it takes, because to create great content that millions of people love, it takes time. But on top of that, the investment in building a studio, in cameras, in team, in editing, in production, in marketing, like you're running a full-on business. I just think people are so predisposed to want information for free, which makes digital products much harder.
It's quite hard as well. So, you know, Netflix, let's just round up some numbers here. Netflix is like, what, 10 quid a month? Or whatever, right? Maybe
Yeah.
12 or whatever. But
Yeah.
the point being, it's about a tenner a month. So psychologically, how could you pay more for Sam Harris's content than you pay for all of Netflix? And then let's go a different model. You're paying 20 quid a month for OpenAI to have access to premium AI content. So how do you then start to value other digital content when that is 20 quid a month?
Yeah, the baseline is that.
That's insane, right?
Yeah.
And so, do I think that's worth double what Netflix is to me? Yeah. Can I honestly, genuinely say that anything should ever be priced higher than the ChatGPT Pro? That's actually probably where depth and fandom goes, because you need to really like obsess over a creator or whatever to think that anything can be worth more than basically the world's greatest knowledge-based utility that currently exists.
The age I am now, I'm paying for that. I'm feeling good about paying for that. But I'm feeling good about paying for that because I'm paying for my younger self to have access to material I didn't have access to. Because I want unique and interesting and differing, you know, countering viewpoints in the world. I don't just want Netflix. I don't just want ChatGPT. You know,
Yeah.
I want individualism, and I think he's serving it to us.
Okay, so let's talk about how much money do you reckon actually he makes? In 2017, so also, you know, this is a long time ago, so let's just assume it's doubled.
So you've done some good research.
He gets 1 million listeners per episode.
He's getting 1 million an episode in 2017.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
A Waking Up subscription costs $120 a year. Making Sense subscription costs $100 a year. So yeah, I was about right. 100 quid, $100. Substack costs is about $100 a year. And then I found this net worth tool. You know, these celebrity net worth things, they're such rubbish. I searched for you, by the way. You weren't even on it. It said Sam Harris is worth $12 million.
No. If you have million listens,
But a million listeners that you're giving away for free and you're not monetizing or advertising.
yeah,
So
so
now
the
let's...
interesting question is how
Right.
many people are paying?
Yeah.
Anything on that?
No. Let's say that the 12 million was true. So of 1 million subscribers, not many are going to... So for example, he's got three things that he monetizes, all at roughly $100, let's call it. I, for example, subscribe to 2 out of 3 of them. I reckon most people who subscribe probably subscribe to 1 out of 3 of them. I literally run a subscription business as well, so and with 3 products actually. So as a good comparison, I can tell you most people buy a bundle, but he doesn't have a bundle. So the second most common thing is your personal 1 subscription.
Yeah.
Right. So I will just assume, using the same subscription logic, that most people only subscribe to one of his things. So the AOV, the average order value, is $100.
Yeah.
So 1 million subscribers in 2017, but whatever. What percentage are going to subscribe to him?
I reckon a lot of people pay for at least one product.
Well, so here's the thing. If we use that maths of 1% of his audience, estimated at 1 million listeners, pay for his content and pay for one of the things, he ends up with $1 million a year.
Yeah.
So he's got books and he's got other things as well, but that's $1 million a year, and the estimated net worth thing is at $12 million, right? Does that sound right for Sam Harris and his global fame? And you're like, no way.
No way.
But if you then go back down, you realize it's hard to make money. Like, it's hard to scale money. It's not that simple to suddenly be worth
and
a
he
lot of
doesn't
money.
do ads. Although sitting here now again thinking about those numbers,
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot more people are paying.
But just to be clear, 12% of his audience would have to be subscribers.
Well, that's 12 million a year, not
Yeah.
12 million net worth.
That's also very true.
If you're making 12 million a year, he is crushing it.
That's also very true. So what do you think you'd need to make per year in theory to have a $12 million net worth?
Your net worth is calculated by your assets and your cash. And so...
Well, he lives on a cloud, obviously. So.
yeah, I don't know.
Is this a good model? Like, as in, is this good culturally? So let's talk about internet toxicity. You talked earlier about Facebook and Instagram and blah, 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 and monetizing our attention. And we all know this shit, right? We've all seen Social Dilemma, and we're all present at Brexit and then all of the Cambridge Analytica stuff. Like, it's a nightmare. So here comes someone with the exact opposite model. What do we think? Is that moving society in the right way, or is it like overly pious and somewhat sneaky?
You can deliver very little value and charge people quite a lot. I think younger people who are highly aspirational and not fully educated yet can end up wasting an extraordinary amount of money paying for education that fundamentally shouldn't be charged for. Whereas I think, if the baseline is here, Harris is delivering content that is a step up. And so I don't know where I draw the line, but I do know as a business owner that running a paid for product rather than an attention-based product allows you to go deeper with the audience, and you're less beholden to the brand sitting on your shoulder and saying, hey, jump. And I wish more people would understand that building a proper digital experience costs an extraordinary amount of money.
So begs the question, do you think this would be a good model for secret leaders at some point?
I think what's very interesting about what Sam Harris has done is he has created kind of the best of both worlds. You are able to listen to half of it, half an episode, and get a lot of value.
Yeah.
Presumably the way the conversation is weighted, I'm just riffing here, but presumably most of the meat is at the end of the conversation. And so if we were to do it, you would still be able to give away a lot of value, and then your core subscriber base is paying for the production. And I wonder if you by doing Harris's model, are you not able to do ads? You don't have to do it like he does it.
I mean, there's a lot of people that do that, right? As in, to get ad-free content, just subscribe per year. What do you think are the pros and cons of a model like Sam Harris?
Well, that's why I've been sitting here thinking, I'm not struggling to come up with pros. I am struggling quite a lot to come up with cons, actually. But the pros is like much deeper connection with your audience. You can create content specifically for them, and people are voting with their time and their money.
And you don't have to sensationalize everything, which you do with the rest of your content.
Exactly. Like, I don't have, everything doesn't have to be like expertly hooked, and like I don't have to go for the volume game and all the rest of it. And so I feel like that's a huge pro. You would say there was a con if he wasn't doing the free access. You would say that gating content from people and restricting them from that content is a con. But he is kind of getting around the con. Maybe that's what he did.
Yeah.
Maybe he sat down, he said, what are the pros and the cons of Sam Harris?
What are Chris and Dan going to tell me are my pros and cons? Let me handle that objection.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. I mean, he's kind of giving you the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And he says in that episode, or in that clip that we listened to, that he's raising his prices.
Yeah.
And he's comfortable doing that and giving it away for free, which makes me think that a much greater proportion of the audience are paying than we could ever imagine.
You could argue this is downside in any model, but particularly that one. You don't know how much money you're going to make next year. And you could make one mistake that your audience don't vibe with and have tens of thousands of cancellers you're never going to get back.
But isn't that like the truest sense of creating value for your audience? If your audience all unsubscribe, you either know your content is bad or you know that you're making content for a deeper, more select audience that maybe you increase the price for. You're much more in control of your destiny when people are paying a subscription, for sure. I feel like, as a business model, of course, it's way stronger the more I think about that.
So question is, are we going to adopt this model? Well, let's find out after a message from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Chris from Secret Leaders.
Hey, I'm Dan from Secret Leaders.
As you know, Dan and I are aiming to build the most entertaining business show on the planet. The most important thing to us is that you subscribe to the channel. This gives us the opportunity to create the best content that we possibly can. Please keep sending in your feedback and your thoughts and your ideas. Like, let us know who you want us to interview. Let us know which business models you want us to explore. We want to create the best content possible for you. So you subscribing and you giving us your feedback is the most important thing.
And if you don't subscribe, we don't fucking care about your feedback. So
That too.
is that true?
That is true.
And that's a secret leader's promise. Okay, in all seriousness, welcome back from our, little ad break.
Great sponsor.
Great sponsor. Amazing. I love those guys.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the core part of the question here, okay? Sam Harris fanboy.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. He already had a big audience when he decided to take the risk. In fairness, he took the risk, but he switched over to a different model. And we're in a different situation, right? We're building an audience from scratch. We're begging people to subscribe to us on YouTube, pretty much. But I guess the main question is, are we going to flip to that business model? And I don't think we can yet, right?
I think the key is, you and I have been building businesses of varying degrees for 10 to 15 years, and we will keep improving and investing in this show to try and make it the best show in the world. And if we do this for a decade, like we've done our other businesses, like, can you only imagine how great the content will get, how much more nuanced the business model will get? And hopefully we get to share that with our audience along the way and build in public.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, very happy to sort of break down the different things we're exploring.
But a good example for the audience is if we were to make a far more researched element of the show and going really deep on a business or on a sector, we would have to hire a researcher to do that. You can see the costs leveling up enormously, and that might then say, is a part of the show paid for, or do we have to get a better agreement with our sponsors? And so that's the sort of decisions we'll be making on a month-to-month basis.
Well, on that note, I'm Dan.
And I'm Chris.
Want to see us out, buddy?
Thank you for listening to Secret Leaders.
Oh, what a fucking pro. God, I wish I used to say that. It's amazing how you just did it with such sass.
Are we out? Are we in?